this would be technically my second operation, so I'm going to call it 200. And toolpath for the insert. And here's where, because there's some curves and stuff in it, what I might do is just copy the whole thing. I'll go transform, translate, and I might just draw a window around the whole thing like this, just for easy. End selection, I want to make sure I copy and put in like 3 inches so it moves it up and away. The amount isn't really important, it's just remember what it is. So we'll put it back here in a minute. So we click OK. I'm going to select all this good stuff, go to Home, and put it on my 200 level. So now that I see all of this stuff is now on my 200 level. And one more time to translate it. Transform, translate, move this time, and back to my, it's going to be minus this time. It should be back right on top of where it came from. And then turn off level 7, so now this is only my toolpath. Now I'm going to turn on my level that has my center line, because now I want to go into wireframe and trim. And I might trim this arc on the front to the center line. And then I'll turn off my references. I don't really need this stuff on the bottom. I'll leave this one here for a minute. And I'll get rid of the arc too. And then turn that off. So what we're going to do is just create a toolpath to create the dome, the face, and this diameter here that I've highlighted. This is your critical one. This is where you've already established the bore. You've gone and gotten a gauge pin out of the tool room and checked to find a gauge pin that gives you a nice transition fit. That way you can measure the gauge pin, measure your part, rerun the program. Measure your gauge pin, measure the part, rerun the program. And that's how you're going to attain that nice transition fit. Notice I left out the part off portion of the program, because then we can kind of figure out, look how far the gauge pin fits into your part, and then you can calculate how much to cut off, and you can just use the jog button and the part off tool to slice off your part on the end. Keep in mind, after you cut that really nice feature on there, the really nice diameter, you only want to go mostly through the part so you can reach in there and bend it a little bit and pop it off, and then you can hand take off the little nubbin. After you cut that nice diameter on there, you don't want it bouncing around inside the machine when it pops off and mar up your surface finish a little bit. So the tool path, it looks like I have to reestablish my stock. So I open up properties, I open up stock setup. It's on the left hand side. I look at properties and make this a 1 and a 3. Now we see here's our stock, and I want turning, a rough tool path, chain, pretty simple tool path, like that. And we go find our tool. That one's fine. And like before, we changed this depth of cut to 30 before. Lead in, lead out isn't excessively critical at this point because it's a pretty basic cut, but we could change the lead in a little bit like this if we wanted to. Now on lead out, where is it at? So maybe I don't want to cut right to the end because maybe I want to give it a little bit more room on my critical diameter so I can adjust my length of my part. So I might say here, adjust end of contour, extend, maybe 0.3. Okay, and I'm going to leave some in X. Won't worry about Z too much. Okay, let's leave a little bit in Z. I'm going to leave 1 in Z, just for a little kissing on the front there. And we'll turn this down to 5. And green check. And notice my stock representation came down. See that? Notice how far past. Let's see, back plot, home, back plot. You see over here where it came down now, let's see, it doesn't look like it's supposed to make a lot of little cuts along in here. See if we can get it to show that here. Yeah, sometimes you have to change the settings a little bit to get it to represent right. What we're missing right here is this roughing turning on the OD there. There we go. So what I clicked on was down here. This button said disable stock recognition. So I activated use stock for outer boundaries. And that's what was going on there. So we use stock for outer boundaries, and now you see we've got this roughing all the way down, and we got this little toolpath there. And then we can finish, chain, same thing. We use the same tool. Finish step over, I'm going to say, I don't know, maybe 2. Number of passes, we'll give it 2. And what else do we want to change? That looks pretty good. Here's your, I almost missed this one. Every time you see the compensation button, put it in where. If it's not in where, you might not have it at the machine in your code, and then you have no really control over the size of the features. Now, if you're making a program that's locked down, and once it's proven out, you don't want anybody changing anything, that would be one way of doing it. But typically, we put it in where so that the person running it can make sure it stays in tolerance. And there's our toolpath. So notice it didn't quite go the full length down here. I want it to go further. So how do we do that? Let's look at extend contour. Maybe. Where's our We'll try that one. Okay, so notice when I say extend contour, it activates this adjust contours ends. If I click on that one, I can, let's just skip that part right quick there. I'm just going to click on the box there to adjust extend contours. That might do it. No? So sometimes like you can see here, you can't get it to drive as far as you want to. So your other option is to wireframe and physically. So sometimes some of the tool paths give you a choice to extend the tool path a little bit, but as we see here, we don't have that option on the finished turn. So oftentimes what I like to do is just physically draw the line longer. So if I go modified length, and the rough pass was, so we're just going to go maybe 0.2. This one, so it extends it out. And now notice, because I said go 0.3 longer on this first one, it's not liking that. So if we come down, where to go? Lead in, lead out, lead out. That was this 0.3. I'm just going to make it 0.1. And what I'm doing here is I'm giving it a little bit overlap, if you will. The rough cut's going to go further than the finish cut, which is fine. What we don't want is we don't want the finish cut to go further than the rough cut. Typically the finish cut is a nicer tool, a little bit more delicate. So if anything, we want to afford it more room with the rough cut and come in with the finish cut. There we go. So you see this first section of tool paths here is the rough cut, and you see the finish cut stopping just a little bit short of it. And then putting a little plus in your wear on the X before you start running gives you an opportunity to sneak up onto that diameter and get that real nice transition fit. Keep in mind, we could probably devote, I think, and Dan used to, you tell me, a big long day's worth of discussions of types and classes of fits. But in my mind, if you boil it down to basics, there's 3 types. Remember? 3 types? Transition, you've got a clearance fit, transition fit, and interference fit. Okay, so your mission, you decide to accept, is to be creative, make this unique. You can copy this if you want to. As a default, you can make it just like I've made it here. And this gives you your second program for making the piece that fits inside of the first part. If we were to go that far, I mean, some of you are making a run for the a burst of energy at the finish line. So, but that would be the. I'm going to save this time. I don't know what happened last time. That kind of makes sense a little bit.
Yes, sir.
But I need hairspray a little bit.
So okay, I'm gonna make the rounds here now. And next week is Monday. For milling. Monday I'll draw a simple little something on the board and ask you to draw it in Mastercam and create a tool path. And then Wednesday I'll do the same thing for lathe.
Okay.
Draw a simple little widget or something on here for the lathe, and you can do that on the lathe,
Nice.
like a little program. What about Tuesday? We don't want Tuesday to feel left out. What do you guys want to do Tuesday?
Tuesday
Yeah.
for next week.
Yeah.
So
What happened?
usually we check everything